Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining today's webinar on how CPS deployed Microsoft Viva Goals. My name is Kat Beedham, and I'll be running through today's session with you. So I am a collaboration and employee experience architect at CPS. I specialise in Microsoft Viva and deliver Microsoft Viva projects and pilots with our customers. I'm also an MVP, and what that just means is that I spend a lot of my spare time speaking at conferences and blogging about Viva. I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to it. So I'll be running through the session with you today on all about Microsoft Viva Goals. And if you do, just a bit of housekeeping, if you do have any questions throughout the session, please feel free to pop them in the chat. We're also going to be running a poll as well, which will pop up on your screen when I launch it. So I'll let you know when that's going to happen in there as well. We should have a little bit of time at the end to do any kind of Q&A, so feel free to pop questions in the chat. All right, so let's get started. So just a little bit on who CPS are, because what we're going to talk about today is how we introduced Viva Goals to the organization, so we can give you kind of first-hand experience. I can also explain some scenarios and experience from doing this with other organizations and other customers, and you'll notice that there are some themes and trends of challenges that some of us face when it comes to understanding Viva Goals and how to implement it. But just a little bit about us. So we are a Microsoft partner. We are a professional services partner. So that means that we get involved in helping organizations deploy Microsoft 365. So we absolutely cover all of Microsoft 365, Power Platform. We have a BizApps practice, Modern Workplace, which is where I sit, which is your SharePoint, Teams, Viva, all of that good stuff. Security and compliance, and Microsoft Project as well. So we absolutely specialize in just Microsoft technology, so Microsoft 365. We have also, oh, sorry, I hear a little bit of an echo there. Just make sure everybody's muted. There we go. So one of the bear with me, just muting the audience. There we go. So nothing worse than when you can hear your own voice when it's echoing. So just to shout out some of our certifications. So we are ProSci certified. So I'm actually ProSci certified, which means change management and adoption. We've also won Partner of the Year awards a couple of times, which has been absolutely great. And we, as an organization, in terms of Viva Goals, we have obviously our strategy and our mission and things that we want to achieve. We want to deliver the best customer service. We want to, be the best partner. We want to grow the organization. All of these great kind of goals as a technology partner that we have. We didn't really have a way to kind of showcase that to our staff. And even though we are a technology partner, and we sell technology, we still obviously had people and leadership in the organization who aren't technical people. They are finance, they're marketing, they're sales, and they're not necessarily the technical consultants and staff. And so it's interesting to see how we absolutely needed change management and adoption when it came to introducing Viva Goals. So that's kind of what I wanted to get across in this slide. Is one, we absolutely specialize in Microsoft 365, but also we probably had the similar challenges that you may have when it comes to introducing a new tool, introducing a new methodology, and so on. So what I wanted to do just before we dive into some of the Viva Goals specific topics. So we want to cover kind of Viva Goals, OKRs, just to make sure we're all on the same page, and then talk a little bit about how we went, how we deployed it, and why we did it and some of the benefits that we found from it as well. But I did just want to run a quick poll just to get an idea of why people have joined the session today. So I'm going to launch a poll now, which you should have pop up in your window. And all we're asking is, what brings you here today? What is it that you're looking to do? Is it just to learn more about Viva Goals? Is it, yes, we know what Viva Goals is. We want to understand how we can actually implement it. Or is it, how do I get my goals visible within the organization? Or strategies, how do I make my strategies visible within or throughout my organization? And I'm just having a look at some of those results here, and about 60% of you are looking to understand more about Viva Goals, so that's great. We are going to showcase that and show you a demo of Viva Goals today. And a lot of you are also looking at learning practical strategies for deploying Viva Goals. So how do you go about introducing it? So fab, we've got absolutely going to cover those today. So first of all, why did we want to implement Viva Goals? So we had a few challenges. You may also have these challenges. Lots of organizations have this similar challenges when it comes to employee engagement, our collaboration, our alignment, and decision making. So those were kind of the three key areas that we were wanting to improve. We had a challenge around employee engagement. So we, as lots of organizations did, we moved to remote working, we moved to hybrid working, and it really led to a bit of decreased employee engagement. There was a lack of connection especially to the organization's goals. One of the things that we wanted to do when it came to deploying Viva Goals was to overcome that challenge. We wanted to really give a bit of purpose, a bit of ownership, and align goals and objectives to individuals to promote that kind of feedback and tracking and recognition. And Viva Goals, we thought, would enable us to do that. So we had a reduction in our employee engagement that we wanted to overcome. We also had a challenge around collaboration and alignment. So again, our remote teams were sometimes struggling with maintaining alignment and that collaboration. And that kind of led to some inefficiencies, some miscommunication. We didn't really have a centralized place where we could set and track our objectives. And we kind of, as an organization, kind of understood our strategy. I'm just going to close that poll now, since just get off your screens. So we did understand kind of the strategy and what we want to do as a Microsoft partner. We want to, deliver great customer service, want to grow the organization. But how did that actually translate into what we were doing? And the key thing for us is that we wanted to make sure that everybody was working on things that were helping the organization strategy. We wanted everybody rowing in the same direction, and we wanted to bring a little bit of focus in as well. And at CPS, we are absolutely a data-driven organization. All our decisions are made from our data. So we use Power BI quite heavily. We use Dynamics 365. We use Azure DevOps. We use all of these tools, Project and Planner, to track and give us data and give us insights to improve what we're doing. But sometimes there may have been difficulties in informed decisions around, the data that we had. So it was difficult to put that data and align it to our strategies. And we know that Viva Goals had integration capabilities. So look, we track all this information anyway, but we could do more with it. What could we do with it? Well, we can use Viva Goals to integrate with our existing systems to track our information and actually see how it aligns with our goals and strategies. So to make it valuable, what we have to be using this data for something. And we saw Viva Goals as an opportunity to do that. So that's kind of why we went into it. And feel free to pop in the chat if you have kind of similar challenges that you're facing, or other challenges that you want to share. I think that would be really useful for us to kind of see, are we all in the same boat when it comes to objective setting and goal setting? So what I wanted to start with then, let's for those who want to understand more about Viva Goals, let's talk about that, because I've talked about why we want to do it, but some of you may be thinking, what is Viva Goals? What is it? What's it part of? What's it all about? What's an objective? What are you talking about, Kat? So let me explain. So Viva Goals is an application that Microsoft introduced in 2021, and it's part of the Microsoft Viva Suite. So the Microsoft Viva Suite is about 9 different applications, and each of these applications, they do different things, but it's all centered around employee experience. So whenever you hear employee experience from Microsoft, they're talking about Microsoft Viva. So this employee experience platform, it puts all of the things that we do, or want to do as an employee. So, we want to increase our well-being. and not be burnt out at work. So we have a tool called Viva Insights to help with that. I want to learn and develop my skills. I want to be onboarded properly to an organization. We have a tool called Viva Learning for that, which again is in the Viva suite. Purpose and alignment, this is where our Viva goal sits. I want to understand what I'm doing and how that aligns to our mission and goals. I don't just want my paycheck at the end of the day. I want a bit more than that. I want meaning in my work, and Viva Goals is the tool for that we'll be focusing on today. Culture and communication is very important when it comes to employee experience. I want to understand what the company is doing. I want news. I want community. I want to feel part of a culture, a good culture. And knowledge and expertise. I want to find the information I need quickly and easily. And we have a tool called Viva Topics, which helps with that. So that's what we mean by employee experience, and that's where Viva Goals fits into it. It's this purpose and alignment. All of these other things are very important, and the other Viva apps cover that. But we absolutely, have this when it comes to Viva Goals. And here's a slide just to explain the different applications and where they sit. So we do have lots and lots of webinars and lots of content on our website about the Microsoft Viva framework and what is Microsoft Viva. So feel free to check those out. Today's session is absolutely on Viva Goals. But if you did want to find out more, please feel free to visit our website. But you'll see in here where these themes, so the connection, the insight, the purpose, the growth, and the apps that fit in it. So you can see all the apps available in the Microsoft Viva suite. There's Viva Engage. There's some new ones in here, Viva Pulse and Viva Amplify, Viva Learning for growth, Viva Topics for that kind of finding information. And then we have Viva Goals for our purpose. So it sits in the Viva suite, and it's something that allows your employees to find, what they're doing and match that up to the organization strategy. Now, Viva Goals, it comes as part of the Microsoft Suite. You can access it through Microsoft Teams as well. So all of these apps are accessed via Teams. So the idea is that although there are, lots of different apps, you access it in one place, which is Teams for everything. You do have a browser version as well if you prefer not to use Microsoft Teams. So now, before I show you Viva Goals and explain what it is, and then talk about how we deployed it and challenges and solutions that we found, I did just want to explain what's called an OKR framework. So Viva Goals is a tool and it's a technology, but it doesn't work unless you have an underlying goal setting framework in place. So Viva Goals is really the tool to surface the objectives that we're trying to achieve as an organization. And it's very important to get those objectives right before you start putting them into Viva Goals. And that's a challenge that we'll talk about in terms of other organizations we've worked with and CPS ourselves, putting lots and lots of objectives and things we want to do into Viva Goals, but not understanding the framework behind it. And so it's not going to be as valuable. So let me just start with the OKR framework, and then I'll talk about Viva Goals and show you it. So Viva Goals is built on this OKR framework. OKR stands for Objective and Key Result. And the whole idea of it is it's a goal setting framework to help us create alignment, focus, and it builds a really productive and engaged workforce, and it drives our business outcomes. So what you'll see is that we have on the triangle on the right-hand side, as an organization, we will have a mission. Why has our organization been created? What are we doing day to day? What is it that we're trying to do? Our mission could be, to be the best. Ours is, being the best and the go-to Microsoft partner and delivering, technology to our organizations in the best way and helping customers achieve their goals and all of these kind of very high-level things. But it's a mission. We want to ensure a great service. We want to, grow our organization. All of these very high-level mission statements that organizations typically already have. So we typically already have this. Hopefully you do. And that feeds down into our values and culture. So we all have values, be resilient, be customer focused, and we want to be experts and all of these kind of things that tie into the mission. Usually, again, we'll have that in place. Organizations will typically know what our values are and have those defined. And that leads into what kind of culture you are as well. So how you like to work, how employees are working, and services that you deliver. Then that feeds down into our strategic priorities. Again, most organizations have this. At CPS, one of our ones is to grow the organization, or it could be to expand into a new market, or it could be, it's something that's a higher level thing that we want to achieve. We want to be the best place to work for people. We want to, again, that great service piece. So we typically, as organizations, have this already. We have a mission, we know what we're doing, we've got values, we've got strategic priorities. Great. Now, the truth is, and there's a couple of interesting stats actually from Microsoft, they did a whole bunch of research on objectives and strategies, and they actually found that there's about 90% of, they did like a survey of thousands of leaders in the leadership team, senior leaders, and they did a survey asking them if they knew what their strategies were and their mission. And 90% of them said, yes, I absolutely know what the strategy is. But there was only, I think there was about 17% of them that could actually name the top 3 goals of the organization. So although people think they understand and know the strategy, even the senior leadership team, they found that actually, no, we don't know what it is we're trying to achieve. And you can see how that, if that cascades down to frontline managers and individuals, staff members, employees, it just, people aren't aligned. They don't know what the strategy is. It's not visible. And that's really what Viva Goals is for. It's to help with that visibility piece. Now, underneath our strategic priorities, this is where OKRs fit in. It's the level below. And I want to highlight that because that's something that is hard to get our heads around if you're not used to using this type of methodology. It's below the strategic priority. Now, when we do with organizations, when we typically write an objective, it always starts as very high level. It's the go-to. We want to grow the business. We want to double the size of the business. And that's fine. But it needs to be a little bit more specific than that. It needs to be that level below. We want to grow the business. Okay, great. Why? And how are we going to grow the business? Well, we're going to open up offices in these 3 places. Great. We want to, be the go-to partner for this technology. Great. Those are kind of more objectives that we are looking to set. It's not the high level strategy piece, it's the level below that. It's how are we actually going to hit our strategy and achieve our mission. And so that's what these are for. We have objectives, which is a statement, which is what we're going to do or what we want to do. We have underneath then a key result. A key result is going to be the proof of how do we know if we've achieved our objective? Well, we're going to know that because we're going to achieve a key result. And a key result is usually a measurable outcome. That is your, sorry, my dog's going a bit mad in the background. That is your numerical value. So we're going to achieve this number of things in this time frame. So it's something we can measure and say, yes, have we done it? Great. Have we not? Well, we've not achieved our objective. So it's very important that we have key results under each objective. Underneath our key result, we have initiatives and projects. So this is how we're going to do it. These are the activities. So we've got our objectives. This is what I want to do. Our key result, how we're going to prove that we've done it and measure it. And our initiatives and projects are the activities. And this is where we can kind of start to integrate other systems to kind of track how we're doing against our objectives. So I just wanted to start with that because if you start with putting mission statements into Viva Goals, you can, but it's not what it's designed for. So it's very important that we get this piece correct and right. And the recommendation is to have 3 to 5 objectives that you want to achieve in a quarter. So the recommendation is to do this on a quarterly basis, not a 5-year plan. Not a 2-year plan, it's a quarterly thing that we can achieve. So that's how I hope that kind of makes sense when we talk about it's below the strategy. It's shorter term things that we can achieve that help us hit that strategy. Now, some organizations will have annual objectives, and that's absolutely fine. But we recommend trying to get to those to quarterly. So we have things that we can focus on. So that 3 to 5 gives us that focus. So the recommendation is to have 3 to 5 objectives that can be achieved in a quarter. And you can have objectives that sit at a company level, And you can also have objectives that then sit at a department level as well. So each department has their 3 to 5 objectives that they want to achieve that aligns with the company level objective. Underneath your objectives, the recommendation is to also have about 3 key results. Now, some organizations with your objectives, you might have 1, you might have 2, but the idea behind it is that the measurable outcome, we want to prove how we're going to achieve this. So for example, an objective might be something like, we want to be the go-to partner for Microsoft Viva. So that might be our objective at CPS. How we're going to achieve that, how do we know that we're the go-to partner for Microsoft Viva? Well, we have increased our revenue by 25% on Viva projects this quarter. We've got 3 customer case studies on Viva this quarter. We have increased the amount of leads that we're getting for Microsoft Viva. We're doing more webinars on Microsoft Viva, that type of thing. So your key results is your measurable outcome. It's we're going to do this much stuff and we're going to do it by this date or in this time period. And then your key initiatives and projects are that activity. So, okay, we're going to do a new marketing campaign to help with the leads, to help with the objective. And that campaign might be an initiative or a project. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to show you what it looks like in Viva Goals so it all kind of comes together. But that's what we want to nail absolutely first. You want to nail down those objectives, those key results. Key initiatives and projects are typically optional. Sometimes we might not have those in Viva Goals. If you do, great. But the very important part is to have our objectives properly written and key results, and not putting in 20 objectives into the tool. That takes away focus and it's very hard to achieve. So that would just be, that kind of leads up to some of the challenges and solutions that we found at CPS as well. So let's take a little look then and some examples, and let's look at Viva Goals. So for those who aren't really sure about what Viva Goals is, it is a goal setting tool. And the idea behind it is those objectives and key results I was talking about, that thing that we need to write, the 3 to 5, we're going to put those into Viva Goals so the rest of the organization can see what they are. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to add those into Viva Goals and we're going to track and measure how we are doing against those objectives and key results. So we have the ability to check in and see if we're on track, at risk, or behind on our objectives. And it allows people to see what they're working on and how that aligns to the company level objective as well. So the idea behind it is that we're helping employees with having the correct objectives to get our business results. We've got centralized location for our objectives. We've got employees that are aligned and integrated into the kind of day-to-day business as usual activities. Those are feeding into things that we're trying to achieve, the correct objectives, the correct things. Sometimes employees can feel a bit overwhelmed by the amount of work that they need to accomplish, and so the OKRs allow them to just cut through the noise and identify their top priorities and things that they should be working on over others, because they can see how it aligns. So let me flip now to show you Viva Goals. So let's take a little look at it and then I'll talk about what we did when it comes to implementing it. So I'm going to open up my browser, and what you'll be able to see is I'm logged into Viva Goals. Now I'm logged in on the browser. You can access it through Microsoft Teams as well. So it'll just be a little app on the taskbar in Microsoft Teams. But this is Viva Goals, and what you'll notice is I have 3 objectives in front of me. Now these objectives you can see how they're kind of written in terms of they're inspirational. We want to ensure a quality service to customers. We want to communicate effectively with our communities and do this and so on. So there are clear objectives that we're trying to achieve as an organization. We started with 3. You could do 3 to 5. You could do less than 3 if you want even more focus, but that's the recommendation. A bit of information I have about these objectives. I've got what the objective is. I've got the owner of the objective, and I've got the team. So this is telling me my organization is called Acme. I've been very creative with my naming convention of my organization, but my organization is called Acme. And in here, I can see, this is an organizational level objective. I can see the status and the progress. I can see we're actually behind on this objective. I can see that we're on track for this objective. So I get a little bit of information at a high level. What I can do from here is I can drop down each objective and I can see underneath the corresponding key results. So in here we want to increase satisfaction rates of our customer surveys to 80% next quarter. And that's a key result that might impact sales, it might impact marketing, it will impact the project team, it will impact our delivery staff, because for us, it's something that everyone's involved in terms of getting the surveys out, in terms of the quality of service that we're delivering. One of the key results is those surveys. And so from there, we have some further objectives which are aligned to different departments. So we're wanting to increase, the satisfaction rates of our customers next quarter. So we were going to implement a new mechanism to improve feedback, and that's with the service desk team. We might have, we want to create a new campaign around case studies in customer service. That might hit marketing. So you'll see on the right-hand side, the objectives change and they now go to departments because we've got our organizational level objective, we've got a key result, how are we going to prove that we're doing a great service? And then we've got the objectives that then go from there to say, okay, service desk team, you do this, marketing team, you're doing this. And it's all aligning and measuring up to this main objective that we have. And you'll see in here that we have a status, and the status is rolled up from the kind of the department objectives and the key results. So all kind of rolls up to say, overall, are we on track or are we behind? I can even expand those department level objectives and see the department level key results. So again, you do want key results under your department level objectives. So in here, we want to save our implementation cost by this, percentage. We've got, another satisfaction survey response in there for the service desk team. But the idea behind it is that it all aligns to our kind of main level objective at the top. You've got some other examples in here. Again, I can expand those and see key results. I think I have another one where it goes through, some more key results. We want to increase the number of subscribers we have to this. We want to successfully implement this. We're proving that we're actually achieving this objective. Now, in terms of your view, what we would typically recommend you start with is the leadership team. So we want to engage with the leadership team, and we want to define 3 to 5 main company level objectives. And then from there, we want to define 2 to 3 key results underneath those objectives. That's kind of an important starting point because we don't want to initially just turn this on for everyone. You want to turn on for the leadership team. You want to get the leadership team understanding objectives and key results. And you want to put those into the tool as a starting point. So we need to understand what we're trying to do this quarter. From there, we can then start to look at department level objectives. Once we've got our main company level ones, we've got our leadership team, our CEO, they're comfortable with objectives and key results. They've kind of helped to map out what these are and what we're trying to do. We can then begin looking at department level, which is our service desk teams, which is our marketing teams, and actually assign the objectives or get them to kind of create their own objectives based on what we're trying to achieve. So when your service desk team and your marketing team are creating their plan for the new financial year, the idea is that what they're creating aligns to this overall objective. So that's the recommendation, is absolutely start with your leadership, move to your departments and department heads, typically, who'll begin to create their objectives and their key results and things they want to achieve. Once we've done that, what you'll find is that it ends up cascading down a little bit more. I'm using a bad example, let me get this one. It ends up cascading down a little bit more where departments can then begin to assign specific key results and specific initiatives to individuals. So an individual could be your marketing assistant who's working on a particular project. They have an objective aligned to them, something they need to achieve, and they can actually see how their objective lines up to the marketing level, lines up to the company level objective and what they're doing. So the idea behind it is you get that framework right, and we can put those into the tool, and then it's visible to the entire organization, but absolutely doing it as a phased approach. We want to start with leadership, move to departments, and then eventually individuals. But we need to get it right from the top first. Now, in terms of the key results, so measuring how we're doing. So in here, we have the ability for every objective and every key result, we can do something called check-ins. And the check-in is usually the owner of the objective. Now, we're not expecting, our leadership team to go in constantly and kind of check things in for our company level objectives. All the kind of results will roll up into the top level. So for example, in our marketing team, if we're trying to achieve this level, this key result, I might be, the marketing manager. I can go in and I can do something called check-in, which means I can either manually kind of edit our progress and say, how far are we doing in terms of, maintaining this net movement? Well, we're about halfway there, so I'm going to change that to 50%. I can put a little comment in here, and I can say, this is why we're doing well, or this is why we are behind, and then I can check that in. So that will update that result, which will then roll up to the main kind of level objective. So the idea is that you want to be checking in on a regular basis to see how you're doing. Now, one thing we don't want to have to do is manually check in every single thing, right? That's not what we want to do. And that's something that at CPS we started with. We started with manual check-ins just to see how it worked and, if it would work for us. The answer is not very well. So it does, it can become quite tedious if you have to go in and check in how we're tracking against our objectives and key results. So one thing we would highly recommend, and one thing that we're doing, is integrating other systems that we use to track data. So it automatically kind of updates our results for us. So what I mean by that is when I create an objective or a key result. So if I, actually, let's create a key result under this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a key result. And I'm going to say we want to increase, we can use that example, increase annual, can't spell today, meals by 20% this quarter. What I can then do is I can decide how we're going to track those results. So in here, you can see I've got manual, that's the default, that's the one we started with. If you do it manually, you have to go in and update the percentage. And the recommendation is to actually do that on a weekly basis. So you can see the more you have, the more key results, the more tedious that can get. So what we are actually recommending is you absolutely roll up from a data source. So you'll see some of the data sources that we have in here. We've got Dynamics 365. So we use that to track our customers and opportunities. We've got Excel. If you use Excel, fine. We don't recommend this because that's, again, more manual entering of data. It's just doing it from Excel rather than Viva Goals. We've got Planner, we've got Power BI. Some other ones that we have in there are things like Azure DevOps, Salesforce, Project for the Web. There's a huge amount of integrations available now. So what I can choose to do is actually integrate, a Power BI dashboard or a planner that we have that we're setting up. I can choose what dashboard, I can choose what planner, and I can actually connect that as an integration. So it's going to automatically update my results for me. So let me just choose, oh no, matching plans, wonderful. But the idea behind it is that it's going to sync that data on an hourly basis. So it syncs every hour and pulls through the information that you need. So it will update those kind of results for you. Now, the recommendation is to still check in. So we still want to go in and check in and see, are we on track? But instead of kind of manually updating it, it will kind of update automatically. So instead of typing in a progress number in here, it will automatically have the progress in there. I just need to kind of put a comment, are we on track, are we not? And check that in. And I can see a kind of history of our key result. Are we on track, are we not? Fine. So those are a couple of things in the kind of main page, but what we also have is the ability to create dashboards. So if I wanted to, in terms of the reporting on this, if I wanted to do a board meeting and I wanted to kind of go through, okay, how is the organization tracking against this objective and reviewing it, I can go in and I can create my own custom dashboard. which means I can add different widgets from my Viva Goals environment. So is there OKR details that I want to, trends that I want to focus on? Yes. What trends do I want to look at? Let's look at some of the annual ones. I want to look at how we're doing against ensuring that quality of service to customers. So I'm going to save that and I'm going to add that as a widget. So what it's going to do is give me an overall kind of dashboard view of how are we doing, here's the key results aligned to it, and all my check-in notes that I have as well. I can add other widgets to the panel, so I can say, do I want a text block? So sometimes a text block is a nice opportunity to do our updates and just provide a bit of context and a bit of information about what it is that we're doing and how we're doing against this objective. So I can create a kind of custom dashboard. I can save that, and then I can show this to my board to say, okay, head of marketing or leadership team, we want to track how we're doing against our objectives. How are we doing? Great. Well, I've created this custom dashboard where now I can present it and I can say, well, this is how we're tracking. This is how we're doing over time. We're actually behind. Here's the comparison from the previous month or the previous quarter. Here's the kind of key results that we're looking at, and here's how we're tracking against that. Here's all of our notes. So actually, we found that this solution's working well. This is a challenge. This isn't. And here's our updates from it as well. So it provides you with that ability to kind of, just present back and say, look, this is how we're doing, and it's based on real data. So it works quite well. Now at CPS, actually, we are using dashboards, and the dashboards. Let me go back. I should have exited presentation mode. So our one of our kind of members really liked using PowerPoint, and so we'd still screenshot. Let me just log into. Oh, we can log into Teams. That's fine. Access it for Teams. They would still screenshot the dashboard and put it into a PowerPoint presentation. So you can absolutely do that if you still want to use PowerPoint to present back to your board about how you're doing, but you can just use the dashboard directly from Viva Goals. And while we're here, I'm just showing you how we can access it through Microsoft Teams as well. So you just add it as an app in Teams in the taskbar, and I can access it from there. So you don't have to access it from the browser like I was showing you. So in terms of Viva Goals, there's a few more kind of bits of functionality to it in terms of the, you have your own department views. So I can see just my department level objectives, just my department level key results. We can set up tagging, so we can easily search for objectives and key results. We can also set up things like notifications. So if you want to send a notification to ping someone to say, look, make sure you check in, or if you're a sales manager and you just want everybody to update their, and check in on their results at a certain time every Monday, you can set that up as well. So there's other things in there to help with the check-ins and help with, making the tool as useful as it can be. But you'll see if we have poor objectives and key results and they're not defined and they're not, we've got 20 of them in here, it's very hard to work in. It's not what the tool is designed for. So getting the methodology right is very important first before you start putting things into Viva Goals, would just be my recommendation. All right, so that was a very quick overview of Viva Goals and objectives and key results. So at CPS, we started to introduce Viva Goals, and we started with our leadership team. And we, first of all, when we started building out objectives and key results and started using Viva Goals, we ran into some challenges and we had some solutions to those challenges. So hopefully this will help when you are looking for deploying Viva Goals in your organization. The biggest challenge we had was we put in an overwhelming number of objectives and key results, happy to admit that. And it's easily done. Every organization that I've worked with has tried to put in 20 objectives and 20 things that we're trying to achieve because, there's lots that we want to do. So the challenge was that we had too many objectives and no focus. And we ran into the problem of everything's important, so nothing is important. What we also did was we put in objectives that were on an annual basis, and didn't try to limit that down into quarterly. So when we started using Viva goals and we had all of these objectives in, it just got a little bit confusing and overwhelming, and it meant that the leadership team didn't want to go into it and kind of track what they were doing and use the tool properly. So it hindered our engagement from our leadership team because there was just too much stuff in there. There wasn't enough focus. So what we did was we reviewed our objectives and key results, and we looked at the quality rather than the quantity. We reevaluated the number of OKRs that we wanted to include to balance out the workload, and increase the focus. We emphasized the meaningfulness over the objective. One of the objectives we started with was to grow and double the size of CPS, or increase our revenue by this number. And that's every organization is trying to do that, right? We're all trying to grow. But what the problem with that was that it just wasn't inspiring. It was an objective that, yes, we all want to stay in the job, and so yes, we do want to grow the organization, but we needed to create an objective that was meaningful and inspiring to people, and something that we could action. So reevaluating the objectives and rewriting them was absolutely the right thing to do. And what we would say is to start with that. Start with writing meaningful objectives that inspire people, 3 to 5, something we can achieve in a quarter. One of the ones that I suggested was we want to be the go-to partner for Microsoft Viva, which is, it aligns with what we're trying to do as a business, but it also brings in a little bit of focus. And it's an objective that can stretch across different departments as well. So that was our first problem, and if I'm honest, that's the same when any customers kind of just dive straight in with Viva goals. You just chuck a whole bunch of goals in there that you want to do as a business. And I would say, please engage with us if you want to do an OKR workshop where we can talk through how we actually built and created our objectives and key results properly. One of the other challenges that we found was that we were trying to achieve 100% on all our objectives, and so we were too hard on ourselves. I think we had a quarterly objective in there and our key results and everything, and if we were behind, it was like the worst thing in the world. When actually Viva Goals is an agile tool. So what that means is that if we are not achieving an objective in a quarter, you can extend it, you can move it to the next quarter, you can close it as 80% achieved, if that's what success is for you. It doesn't have to be 100%. So we would just say, don't feel the pressure to meet all of the objectives and key results. Remember that they are improvement goals, and they're things that you're trying to align people and provide focus and have everybody working towards the same thing. If you've done those things, then that's success. You don't necessarily need to sit there and hit 100% on everything. That's not what these are for. One of the other, I guess, things that we came across is that we were looking at using goals, and we ended up kind of getting in a cycle of tracking business as usual activities. We were tracking, our utilization of our consultants. We were tracking, our cybersecurity exams, and and things like that, which just come as part of the job. They're not business goals. They weren't things. They were a bit too granular. So the idea is that really we want to be looking at objectives that are below our strategy, but also, Viva Goals is not a task tracking tool. We use Planner, we use Project. Those are task tracking tools. That's not what Goals is for. It's to align those, things that we're doing to a clear objective and what we want to achieve. So we did have to kind of redo a bit of our understanding on, let's make it focused on business goals rather than business as usual activities. And the biggest one, I guess, the one that I mentioned, was the manual tracking. Yes, we started with manual tracking, and people didn't have the time to do it, or it was hard to kind of look at. We had our data anyway. We had Power BI dashboards. They were looking at Power BI dashboards and then trying to plug that into Viva Goals manually. it just didn't make sense. And so we absolutely enabled our integrations with Azure DevOps, Power BI, and Dynamics 365, which allowed us to then kind of automatically have those results feeding into Viva goals. So when you start, I would say build some very clear objectives and key results, 3 to 5 organization ones, 3 to 5 department ones, and turn on your integrations. Choose how you're going to track each key result, enable integrations into it, and you'll have a more successful rollout. Absolutely. So those are some of the challenges that we found and some of the solutions. And it all honestly comes back to getting the foundation right. If there's anything you take away from today, it would be, right, we need to sort out writing some good objectives and key results to have success. Otherwise, you just won't. So I just wanted to talk about, before we finish, some of the benefits that we found from introducing Viva goals to organizations. So we've got leadership, started with leadership, then departments, then individuals. Now, Viva goals is a tool, a new technology and a new way of thinking. So we did have to do some change management stuff in there, bits of training. We had some power users, some change champions who were able to kind of manage things, and we set up our notifications to remind everybody to check in. So there is a little bit of that as well as the kind of initial setup and the OKR writing. So just be aware of that. But in terms of our benefits, the big one is alignment. So everybody understands now how their work ladders up to the higher level priorities. We're all rowing in the same direction. We've got focus. So that's the thing we lost at the beginning. We now have focus. We've got 3 to 5 core OKRs per quarter. We have changed things to a quarterly basis, although we do have 1 or 2 annual ones, which is fine. But it helps the prioritization process. Our teams are focused. They can say no to other things that are not aligning with their objectives. We have transparency. We have visibility on our desired outcomes as an organization, clear accountability. We've got trust. We've got team collaboration. We have our agility as well. So we have that frequent visibility into how we're tracking. So we can make those data-driven decisions, and we can adjust our strategy quickly as well now that we have that visibility. And we also have growth. So it allows us to our teams can now set OKRs which are aspirational. So we can set stretch targets that maybe sometimes a little bit uncomfortable but achievable. And that can help our teams, and it started to help our teams think outside the box and achieve more. So it's a new way of thinking, which has really kind of changed how we work. And so that's why it's really been beneficial for us and absolutely worth the rollout. It's a new way of working. There were some challenges in the beginning, but towards the end, when we got it right, when we got the foundation right, we turned on our integrations, we did our change management process, it was more impactful now than ever. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of inspiration and excitement into looking at your kind of goals process. So hopefully that has given you a little bit of an overview of Viva goals, some of the things we can do with it, but the importance of building OKR frameworks properly, and a little bit of insight into what we did, challenges, solutions, and things that you can avoid straight away and just go into a straight, great, amazing OKR Viva goal deployment. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight and has helped. Where to go from here? Well, we can absolutely help you in your process. We've gone through it ourselves. We're helping other customers. We have lots of, Viva goal pilots that we're doing to really just test out the methodology and test out the tool and see how it's going to be received by staff. We have proof of concepts and discovery workshops that we can run as well. So if you just wanted to find out a little bit more how it's going to work with how you do objectives, then please reach out. We're happy to do more kind of tailored one-on-one sessions with organizations if required. So please feel free to reach out. We'll have some of the team reach out to see how you found the webinar. You can absolutely kind of put your hand up there and say, yes, we want to engage you with some Viva Goal stuff. So with that, I will say thank you very much. I'll hang on for a minute or so to see if there are any questions. I can't see any in the chat, but feel free to pop them in. But thank you so much for listening, and hopefully this has given you a bit more information on how we introduced Viva goals. So apparently there are questions. I just can't see them, so bear with me. One second.
Hi,
I've got
Kat.
my lovely assistant who's just screenshotted me some, so bear with me. I can see those now. All right. So interested the studies and stats of the benefit of VG in the UK side. Yep. So we can share some links. So we'll have some of the team reach out. We've got some links to some of the stats and benefits from Microsoft themselves. They do lots and lots of work trend index and Forrester reports. They've got just a huge amount on all sectors, so we're happy to share some links. They're really they put a lot of time and effort into these indexes and research behind their technology, so it's really interesting. So I'll absolutely share that. Is the team taken from Azure AD? Do we set one up in goals? It is taken from Azure AD. It also, the teams are created in Viva goals. Let me show you actually. I forget, I've got it up now. So the teams, you need to create the teams. They can be based on Office 365 groups. So you could create the teams and create them from groups that you've already got created. So if you've already got HR, marketing, great, but you can create new ones as well. When you create a team in Viva Goals, it does not create a new group, but you can create a team based on an existing group, if that makes sense. We can also have cascading teams as well. So if there's a department within a bigger department, then we've got that in there. So we've just started experimenting with Viva Goals, and we see that as Sports Planner, but much of our work, Project Online. Yes, Project Online. So Project for the Web, more specifically, not necessarily Project Online, is a data source that is available now. So if you wanted to, if you're an admin of your Viva Goals tenant, you can go into the Viva Goals admin portal, and when you go to integrations on the left-hand side, you'll see all integrations available. So in here, you'll see we've got Amazon, Box, Dynamics, Excel. If I scroll down, we did have, so there's Planner. I don't think I have a license on this tenant. Project for the Web is in there now as well. It was just rolled out this month. So have a look at that. And if you want to turn on all integrations, you can from here. But you need to be an admin to do that. To auto update from Planner, is it only the owner that needs to be a member of the Planner's Microsoft 365 group? So I believe so. So if you are setting up, because on this one, I don't have any plans. So the owner, you would change the owner to the person who's managing that. So if you've got somebody who's in the marketing team, I keep using that as an example. If you've got somebody who's in the marketing team who's doing this, you would assign them as the owner. So I would change them and say, I'm going to add Adele as an owner. You can have multiple owners in there, although the recommendation is to have one. And that person can then go in, check in, and they can add the planner and the key results. So yeah, I think it does have to be them as part of it, because I didn't have it in this one. But you can swap those owners around. And I can see Adele keeps screenshotting the new questions, because for some reason I just, yeah, I can't find it for some reason. But let me just get the other ones up. So what processes, if any, do you have to review progress and improve goal setting following quarter? Monthly and quarterly meetings with the leadership team. So we set up a cadence where we do OKRs. So we do a refresh, we review the OKRs, and we write the new ones for the next quarter. So it's usually a monthly or a quarterly cadence that we'll have. And that's with typically our leadership team, our heads of departments. They'll kind of do theirs for the next quarter as well. That's how we'll typically do it. But the idea is that we're not reinventing the wheel, right? So you should already have things as an organization you want to achieve, and things as a department that you're working on that you want to achieve. It's just putting those into the right framework to fit to the tool. If organizations set goal annually, how do you break that down? So what you could do, so this objective, so sorry, to read that question again, I didn't read it properly. If your organization sets a goal or an objective that is annual, how do you break that down quarterly and still make it relevant? So annual objectives, could be, so there's one here actually. So this objective, working together to be the best place we can in our collaboration team, making it a fantastic place to work. This is actually a department objective that is annual, it's long term. What we've done underneath is we have created a key result, which is either annual or quarterly, which is fine. And underneath, you'll see that we have child objectives and child key results that are on a quarterly basis. So if you've got this annual thing that you're working on, you can create key results and child objectives and initiatives that are quarterly, and you can track those quarterly. So then over the year, you're seeing how they're all kind of fitting together to this objective. And one of the exercises, it's interesting to do actually, we did an exercise with an organization where we kind of looked at their kind of things that they wanted to achieve in the department and some of the KPIs, and try to kind of fit those into objectives and key results. So it ended up being, we had an annual objective, we had an annual key result, but underneath we had some quarterly child objectives, and it just cascaded down a little bit further, a little bit more granular. So that's absolutely something that you can do. Is setting those key results and child objectives as quarterly, and having this big one as an annual. I hope that helps. So just one on the project online specifically. So it's just project for the web right now. We don't know of any project online integration that's going to be made available. What you can do though, if you look at the Microsoft Viva Goals roadmap, just if you Google that, it'll be like the first link that comes up. You can see the integrations that they're going to make available on there. Project for the web is the one specifically available now. Project online is not, and I'm not sure if it is. So one to check. But again, just because if you're using project online and you're kind of looking at implementing Viva Goals, if you use any other kind of systems for tracking things, you can, that fit in the integrations, you can use those. So project online, we would typically look at, so if you look here, we've got our objective, we've got our child objective, we've got key results, and then under the key result, cascades even more, we've got initiatives and projects. And these initiatives and projects are the activities. We're going to upskill civil servants, we're going to reassign roles, we're going to do these things. This is something I would probably link to project to say, let's update on this and see if we're actually achieving it. So just because there's not a project online integration, basically is what I'm saying, you can still use the tool and still find value out of it. So cost for licenses, yes, a big one. There is a cost to Viva Goals. It does not come as part of Microsoft 365. Every employee who's going to access and view goals needs a license. So just bear that in mind. So you could start with your leadership team and just give those people a license. Then departments, you could just give those people a license. But if you want individuals to be able to go into it and see, you need to give them a license. And it's approximately a few pounds per user per month. The reason why I'm giving a bit of a vague there is because there's different pricing for charities, schools, and it depends on your license provider. They may be able to do further discounts, or might be a different price. So Microsoft retail price is around about a few pounds per user per month. So that's the kind of price point you're looking at. But again, I'll caveat that with, please check with your license provider for more specific pricing. And just on the, yes, all users do need to be licensed if they're going to access it. All right, so thank you so much for your questions. I think that's all of them. So what I'll do now is end the session there, but thank you so much for listening, and we'll absolutely be reaching out, see how you found the webinar, and see if there's, if you're looking for any help and support with Viva Goals. But thank you so much, and I'll let you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.